how hard has it been to conduct and like get responses from Kashmir? What kinds of roadblocks have you faced, if any? Because I know how the government works on both sides. Going forward, how would you protect the identities of the people that share stories? Because, you know, it's a highly sensitive area. And yeah, I mean, you know the pitfalls. So, yeah, thank you.
My question is directed to you because I did not know about these issues on digital assets. And I just wanted to ask if there are other digital rights activists working on this issue, because we completely forget about Web3 and we focus more on already existing internet technologies.
From your engagement with the security agencies, I can see from the fixtures as well as civil defense officer and appraising officer, which the police and the military officers are not visible in the pictures. And from the research we conducted also in the region, we found military the most in terms of subjugating the people in the communities. I can refer to people in Madagali of Adamawa State, where most of the young people joined Boko Haram because of the attitude of the military officers against them. They were displaced by the insurgent, and when the insurgent left the town, they came back and found military officers living in their houses, and they issue the houses as rent to them also. And such issues also happened there. I don't know how were you able to work together with the military officers there, or because you did not mention the attitudes of the police and the army as one of the challenges. Probably that would give us a lesson in working with them again.
Thank you. So you asked about roadblocks to getting people to participate from that region, and also how I'll be protecting their identities. I'll answer the identities question first. I'm not asking people to tell me their name. Well, they will tell me their name, but I won't be sharing it when I share the artwork. So the only thing that I ask for is, or the only thing that I'll be displaying when I display the artwork is their gender and their age. So they're the only two things that you will learn about the artist, not the name. You'll obviously also know the location because that will be visible on the map. In terms of roadblocks to participation, getting people to take part in the research, I haven't actually done my field work yet. So I travel out next year in the summer, but I have thought about this in my research design, obviously, because I'll be interrogated on it before I go. So I'm making use of my familial network in that region, which is a real advantage because I speak the local dialect. I also speak the lingua franca, which is Urdu. And I have some knowledge of the contextual kind of sensitivities, cultural sensitivities in that area. So the research itself will be carried out in the participants' homes. They won't be asked to come to me. I will go to them. And part of that is thinking about also sort of gender norms in the region. You know, if I want everybody to participate in my research, I need to understand that, for example, women who have children and mainly stay in the home, in the villages, won't want to come to me if I want to host them in a cafe somewhere obscure. So I've thought about that in my research design, but no, hopefully when I go, I won't come across too many obstacles, but that remains to be seen. Thank you for your question.
Great. Now, Alejandro.
Thank you. Yeah, you were asking about our partnerships and what we're doing with different organizations. Well, yes, this is a perfect time for us because we're actively looking to engage in partnerships with different organizations. We provide onboarding, we provide training to activists, to advocates. And the most important part is that we are actually looking for organizations to bring their learnings, bring their projects to our platform. And we are developing standardized metadata registries. Right now, the one I presented is centered on art features, but how about other aspects like hard metadata regarding human rights issues? So that's what we're looking for. We are very open right now to building partnerships and engaging with different sectors. So please, yeah, thanks.
Thank you. And then the last question I think was for Austin, if you can pass him the mic. Thank you.
So thank you very much for your question. And I think it's a very brilliant question, but you'll also agree with me that I just had 10 minutes to make a presentation on a conflict that has taken almost a decade and more. So I might not be able to throw up all the issues associated with that. But I just want to respond with a short story from about 85-year-old woman I met, in the course of our work. So while we talked about reconciliation and healing, and she walked up to me after the meeting and said she lost everything, her family, the husband, the children, her house, her ancestral land, that what exactly do I want her to reconcile to? So at that moment, I really didn't know what to say. I just stared at her, for a while, and I just had to walk away because it's so difficult. So why I'm saying this is because the atrocities that happened, within the period the war was being prosecuted, is not being talked about. So a lot of people have suffered, and the essence of the work we are doing around transitional justice in the Northeast is to also spur the government to have a more robust, reconciliation process and transitional justice process that could actually yield to healing, for people in the Northeast. And that way we can also foster a level of, justice and accountability for people in the Northeast. So the work we've done is just like a scratch, on the surface. And we hope that we are pushing for the state government, and the national government to take a cue from this and be able to have a robust, transitional justice process that is going to lead to healing and reconciliation.
I have a question to the brother from Nigeria. I'm particularly interested in the work you're doing around transitional justice and the convergence of how digitalization can enable transitional justice. My question is, to what extent do you find the digital space conducive to dealing with some of the difficult human rights violations that transitional justice actually encompasses? Isn't it putting victims more at risk by bringing transitional discussions on digital platforms? Just general observation.
I've noticed, this question's for anyone who it resonates with, but I've noticed throughout the conference that there are a lot of needs from artists from the tech sector. And I just want to give you all a moment to maybe reflect on what technological advancement right now would propel your work forward, and make your work that much easier for you to work on.
Interested in your project about memory and how your art and technology can preserve that and preparing for the next generation for healing and make it available. My question about accessibility. So how you make this content accessible? Because also we have similar history in different way, so we can learn from the experience and people can get inspired and get to know more about it. How you define to put that to the world?
I appreciate your question on accessibility. That's something that's really, for us, really central, even throughout the process. Even right now, we're really building out a community engagement process, kind of the first of 3 community convening, the first one actually in about 2 weeks in Boston, where even putting out surveys ahead of time, like prompting people, multilingual, making sure that we really outreach in the community and also digitally too, so that people who say maybe are not able to read and write are able to access it too, through using radio, through using media, using kind of different digital kind of, and also in person too, and going door to door. So. And I mean, the question of accessibility is so, it can be, is so core, but at the same time, there's so many complex layers to it too. On the one hand, to make sure that our project is, people know about it, it's documented in a way, but at the same time, for us really thinking about how do we make sure that intergenerationally is really accessible for both the younger audience, the elders, in the ways that it also brings healing to them in the process too. We don't want it to be just like the end results, but how do we foster a process that truly engages accessibility inclusion and in a way that really pays honor and respect to so much that has happened and continues to unfold. But in terms of accessibility, across borders, definitely we have landing page, using social media. But what I mentioned about really accessing holographic and also projections too, that's a part of that. So not even, while we access kind of permitting for kind of public land use, thinking about how this, is it able to travel? How can it resonate with, other communities, thinking about the process of generational healing too. So it's definitely still a process that we're exploring, but I would say that it's definitely core to really the success and the effectiveness of the project. I also wanted to touch base real quick on the question around artists and technology too, because I feel like oftentimes the arts are not included and it's oftentimes left out. And so, we think about so much that has shifted in our world, and especially coming out of the pandemic, thinking about how technology in my own practice has helped to a certain extent, but I would say it also can sometimes hinders too. Like, how does it take away from really, the intention kind of behind like the content actual making, and not just to speed things up or for the sake of just sharing and posting it, and really thinking about, again, tying it to accessibility to how does it really reaches the people that are not at the table and needs to be there. So I would say whilst technology has, made progress, there's also a lot of ways that it hasn't, and it still continues to leave out so many voices. I know a lot of things I've explored during this space.
I would like to have an approach on that question. And I think that from my perspective, it is necessary to have like a more interdisciplinary vision from artistic views, and like to gather those worlds, because from my own experience and working in digital activism and combining art and technology and communication is pretty much about identities, and it's pretty much about embracing cultural, social backgrounds and approaches. And it is important to consider every piece of art or a social graphic piece to advocate, to be considered itself like a project, and having this interdisciplinary vision and integrating anthropologists' views, psychologists' views, to better communicate and to achieve that your piece is communicating something, and it's not just communicating something, but actually inviting people to take action. So I will say that, and I would like to also take into account your question. Sorry, I'm in your field, but it resonates me the question that you made about the digital rise and the digital risk that people are putting itself by participating in digital spheres. And I think that we are all witnessing how policy and our politics are carried out differently. And now people are participating in digital spheres, and it is important to advocate for digital rights and for minimum guarantees for participation for people that are taking important discussions online. So we have been struggling with that topic also in Colombia. There are no guarantees for participation, and I think it's time to have this conversation also in the digital sphere, and to advocate for digital rights and digital and minimum guarantees of participation in the digital sphere. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, would you like to also touch on this? Can you pass the mic to Alejandro, please? Thank you very much.
Hello. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to add up to that. And actually, one thing that I think we should ask ourselves as technologists and as platforms that what are we missing by not including artists in the equation? What are we missing by not allowing artists to tell us how we should architect technology? I think that's something we should ask ourselves. Like we have seen it with WhatsApp, which is not a new technology, but artists are such great contextual innovators. They use tools that we consider old or not, at least not innovative anymore, and they use it in a different way and with so much impact. So for us, that's something we're trying to do. We're trying to understand what artists need. We're trying to create a conducive ecosystem for artists to innovate and to provide that amazing data that just by collecting through service in your art processes, that's valuable information, and that's why we're emphasizing so much in that. And I think it's valuable to ask ourselves, what are we missing by not letting artists to get in that conversation? So, yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Then we're gonna go with the first.
Yes. Okay. So thank you so much, for the question. But I just want to clarify, we used WhatsApp as a digital tool for mobilization, right? So not like the transitional justice process was happening on the digital space, but we used it for mobilization to aggregate the community gatekeepers, the local governance structures, the local chiefs, and all the necessary stakeholders that need to talk. Because we recognize that even before the conflict started, there has been a local way, a traditional way of reconciliation that existed in those communities. So what we did was to build on those existing structures and, more like add to it. Like we are not trying to reinvent the wheel, but we are saying what you already have, let's build on it so that community people can begin to talk. And again, part of the key outcomes from that process was to put voices to the stories, not faces, but voices to the stories. Yeah, we wanted their voices to be heard. And our work was to collect, those data back through WhatsApp because those communities are hard to reach because of security issues on the road. There was a lot of kidnapping, attacks happening on that road, but we needed to talk about all these things. So what we did was to collect those voices, then amplified it at the National Truth-Telling Dialogue that we organized, where we had all the security agents and state actors present, so that they can understand that these issues are really coming from community members. Like, we are not just saying it, but these issues are really coming up, from community members. So we used WhatsApp as a digital tool, and moreover, it's a closed group, but we use it as a digital tool for mobilization and not necessarily the transitional justice process happening, because we're also aware of safety of survivors. So it was paramount, and we paid attention to that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I know there were a couple more questions, but we're right on time. It's 12:30, so unfortunately we can't take them now. But please approach them, please ask them. I'm glad there are questions, and I'm glad that there's interest in continuing this conversation. So one last round of applause for all our short talk speakers of today.